Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoటి Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmadgurubhyo Namaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badharayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishwaro Guru Ratmete Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Om Shri Medha Dakshina Murti Swamine Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvisha Vahai Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Om Bhadram Karne Vishrunuryama Devah Bhadram Pashye Makshabhiryajatra Sthirairangaye Stutvagum Sastanubhi Vashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vriddhashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti na Starkshyo Arishthanemihi Swasti no Brihaspatir Dhadatu Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Check whether recording is going on.
Yes, Guruji.
It is on, Guruji.
On, right?
Yes.
Because I can't see. Normally it will come recording like that.
It came.
Okay, okay. It is there. So change the place for that. Okay. Right.
Namaste Guruji, pranam.
Pranam, pranam. They keep on changing the place where they are display all these things. So get confused. Okay.
Namaste Guruji.
What we will do, we will chant that last sentence. But today I want to try out a new this thing practice. All of you who want to chant can unmute and chant after me. Okay, it's not that I'm going to ask one person to come and chant and all. And it's only a question of, even if there is some confusion, doesn't matter. Normally, if everybody chants, then everybody will correctly chant. Mistakes will not be highlighted. So let us try that, okay? So all of you who want to chant can unmute and chant after me. Jnana matre yadyape
Jnana matre yajnate
sarvasraminam
karvasaminam
adhikaraha
adhikaraha
tathapi
tatapi
sannyasa nishta eva
sannyasa eva
brahma vidya moksha sadhanam
brahma vidya moksha sadhanam
na karma sahita iti
na karma sahita iti
vaikshacharyam charantah
vaikshacharyam tachantah
sannyasa yogat
sannyasa yogat
iti cha bhruvan
iti cha bhruvan
darshayati.
darshayati.
Very good. Thank you very much, all of you. So now you can mute yourself. Okay. So we are discussing the components of Anubandha Chatushtaya. 4 components: Adhikari, Prayojana, Vishaya, and Sambandha, which needs to be disclosed in every scriptural text for it to be accepted as valid by the parampara, Guru parampara. And as I said, this will also give, once a person knows these four aspects regarding a particular text, it will give a person an overview of the contents of the Upanishad and also lead the person into the study of the Shastra. Now, starting with the sentence prayojanena tu, Bhashyakara is applying the Anubandha Chatushtayam to Mundaka Upanishad. Where Bhashyakara want to demonstrate that Mundaka Upanishad is a worthy text which people can take up, people who are mumukshus or jignasus can take up of study, because this Mundaka Upanishad contains all these four elements: Adhikari, Prayojana, Vishaya and Sambandha. So he is actually certifying Mundaka Upanishad as a Upanishad which we can study. So that he is now one by one showing this is where Mundaka Upanishad is talking about the Adhikari, the Prayojanam, etc. Right? And he is applying the Anubandha Chatushtayam to Mundaka Upanishad by quoting the relevant mantras to establish that Mundaka Upanishad satisfies all the four aspects of Anubandha Chatushtayam, and therefore it is a valid text and can be taken up for study by mumukshus and jignasus. Then he went on to say that the mantra beginning Vidyate Hridaya Grantihi, the mantra which occurs in the second Mundaka, second Khanda, eighth mantra, establishes the sambandha, the connection between vidya, the knowledge, with prayojana, the purpose, in the forms of sadhya sadhana sadhya sambandha, the means and end. And as we saw, this mantra says that when Paramatma is recognized as oneself, the Parabrahma, Nirguna Brahma, when it is recognized as oneself, when the full import of the Mahavakya Aham Brahmasmi is understood and assimilated, the result is all the knots of the heart are destroyed, all doubts are resolved, all karmas, that is all punya papas of the past and present are destroyed, which is otherwise called what? Freedom from samsara or moksha. Thus, through this mantra, the sambandha is established, which is sadhya sadhana lakshana sambandham, the connection between the goal and the means to reach the goal. The goal is freedom from samsara or moksha, and the means to reach the goal is this vidya, this Upanishad. Next, he deals with the Vishaya, the subject matter of the Upanishad, in the sentence starting from Atracha. Now, we all know that Veda contains two parts, namely Veda Purva Bhaga, that is Karma Kanda, and Veda Anta Bhaga, which we call Upanishads or Jnana Kanda. In this context, the Vishaya, the first point he made, was that the Upanishad itself talks about this division or distinction between Veda Purva Bhaga, which is called Aparavidya, and Vedanta Bhaga, which is called Paravidya, which is also called Brahma Vidya. Now, between the two, that is Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, which is the Vishaya relevant for reaching the goal of freedom from samsara or moksha? That is the question. And he pointed out that the Upanishad itself says that Aparavidya, that is Karma Kanda portion, is committed merely to injunctions and prohibitions, and therefore it is not capable of removing the cause for samsara, which, as we say, is avidya kama karma. And he quoted the mantra, avidyaya mantare vartamanaha, 1, 2, 8, to support his point. And I say 1, 2, 8 means you must understand. First Mundaka, second Khanda, and eighth mantra. So, and further he said that the Upanishad talks about Paravidya as Brahma Vidya and says that this Vidya can be attained by Vairagyam and also by the grace of the teacher. And for this, he quoted Pariksha Lokan, the mantra Pariksha Lokan 1 to 12 as the relevant mantra in which the Upanishad talks about Brahma Vidya. So he says, the Vishaya relevant for reaching the goal of moksha is also established by the Upanishad. Thus, two components of Anubandha Chatushtayam, namely Sambandha between Vidya and Prayojana, and the Vishaya, subject matter of the Upanishad, has been dealt with. Now, in the next sentence, starting Prayojanam Chasakrit Braviti, he said that Upanishad has more than once talked about the Prayojanam or purpose of the study. And in support, he quoted the mantra Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati 329. One who knows Brahman becomes Brahman alone, thereby highlighting one particular aspect of this Vidya. Then he quoted another mantra, Paramritaha Parimuchyanti Sarve 326, which says that having discovered oneself to be absolutely immortal by gaining this Brahma Vidya, one becomes free in all aspects. That means what? One attains moksha. So the prayojanam of this Upanishad is Brahma Praptihi and Samsara Nivrittihi. So the prayojanam or the benefit is looked upon in two ways. One is called Ananda Praptihi or Paramananda Praptihi. Other is called Dukkha Nivrittihi. So Dukkha Nivrittihi, removal of Dukkha and attainment of Sukha. So Bhashyakara brings in two mantras to highlight both these aspects. Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati is Sukha Praptihi, Ananda Praptihi. Then Paramrita Parimuchyanti Sarve means Dukkha Nivrittihi. So both these prayojanams were talked about. See how detailed Bhashyakara goes, And if we read the Bhashyam, our mind also gets oriented to this kind of thinking. Absolutely detailed thinking, no, not leaving out any aspect of the whole, the whole topic rather. So thus, this prayojanam is also talked about by the Upanishad. Then in the last class, we recited the sentence, and today also, beginning, we recited Jnana Matre Yadyapi. And I said that in this sentence, Bhashyakara is talking about Adhikari of this Upanishad, this Brahma Vidya. And I also said that right in the beginning, he makes one important point. He says that everybody has a right for Brahma Jnana. Jnana Matre Sarvashraminam Adhikaraha. So makes it very clear. Whatever I am now going to say after this, that is subject to this, that in my view, that is in Bhashyakara's view, everyone, irrespective of his sex, irrespective of his ashrama, everyone has got a adhikara for this Brahma Vidya. Everybody can have Brahma Jnana. Brahmachari can have, Grihastha can have, Vanaprastha can have, and a sannyasi also can have. But he then qualifies. He says, this Brahma Vidya will be effective. Effective means result producing when it is sannyasa nishta, when it is rooted in or supported by sannyasa. It does not mean that one has to actually give up everything and take to the sannyasa ashrama. What he is implying is, it means that's why he says sannyasa nishta. It means there has to be the spirit of sannyasa. Then only this Brahma Vidya becomes moksha sadhana. Anybody can get Brahma Vidya. But the pursuit of Brahma Vidya for moksha should be in the spirit of sannyasa. Otherwise, it will be intellectual knowledge. That's no problem. You can gain that knowledge. In the form of information, the knowledge will be available. If a person is given a question paper on Mundaka Upanishad, he can write all the answers. Perhaps he may even get distinction. But it will not become moksha sadhanam. And Bhashyakara is emphasizing this, that it becomes moksha sadhanam when this Brahma Vidya is pursued with the spirit of sannyasa. And there is a very important reason why Bhashyakara brings in the discussion on this topic. In fact, if you actually go through every Bhashyam of his, all the 10 Upanishads, he has written, all the 10 important Upanishads, he has written Bhashyam. Every Bhashyam, he invariably brings in this topic. One issue which is very close to his heart, he deals with it. What is that issue? I will briefly touch upon it so that the context is clear. And we will discuss it in more detail later. See, during Bhashyakara's time, or even before his time rather, the prevalent view among the Vaidikas was that once a person has been initiated into Veda through the Upanayanam ceremony, he has to strictly follow the Vidhi and Nisheda ordained by the Veda till his death. Ajivana Paryantam, one has to do all the karmas. Nitya karma, Naimitya karma, all karmas which the Vedas ordain, one has to do. This was the prevalent view among Vaidikas. Now, once you have taken to Brahmacharya ashram, then you go through the ashram up to Vanaprastha. And then, because if you take sannyasa, you have to give up karmas. So you cannot take sannyasa. You have to only stop at Vanaprastha ashram and continue to do all the karmas. This was the prevalent view. And even though Upanishad after Upanishad proclaimed that jnanena eva tu kaivalyam, moksha can be gained only through knowledge, what these people who believed in doing karma till death said that actually we have to understand it in the overall context. They said that there are two ways to attain moksha. The first was strictly follow all the Vedic prescriptions, earn a lot of punyam, go to Brahmaloka, and there they have to gain the knowledge from Brahmaji and attain moksha. So this is one route to moksha. They called it Krama Mukti. Then they said that there is one more method. Second method is there. And what is that? One can study the Upanishads here itself along with performing all the Vaidika karmas. And the knowledge gained is embellished by the punyam earned through performance of karma, and that will deliver moksha after death. And these people who believed in this, they were called jnana karma samuchaya vadis. That is, pursue jnanam and also karma simultaneously. When Upanishad talk of Jivan Mukti or Sadhyo Mukti, attaining liberation from bondage while still living, which according to the Vedantins, Advaita Vedantins is the message of the Upanishad, they said, no, that is not correct, we don't accept it. So the Jnana Karma Samuchaya Vadis did not accept Jivan Mukti. And these people were in large numbers during those times. And Bhashyakara, through his teaching in Bhashyam, tried to set the record straight. And he points out that your view is wrong. This jnana karma samuchaya view is wrong. And why it is wrong, then he will give his arguments. And here he does that by pointing out that even though the Veda is one body of knowledge, which consists of Veda Purva Bhaga and Veda Anta Bhaga, they have to be treated as two separate shastrams because the adhikari for the karma kanda is different from the adhikari for jnana kanda. So the eligibility criteria itself for pursuing the Veda Purva Bhaga or karma kanda is different from the eligibility criteria for pursuing jnana kanda. Of course, all these discussions may seem out of place in today's context because firstly, most people do not even know these contents of Veda. What is Veda? Nobody knows. What is the contents of Karma Kanda? What is the contents of Jnana Kanda? Most people don't know. Only who have come to Vedanta classes and all that where they are explained. So that knowledge they gain. Otherwise, nobody knows. And the second more important thing is, even if they know the difference, it is of no relevance to them because most of them have already given up the most of the Vaidika karmas. Sandhya Vandanam, nobody does. Madhyanam, even those who do Sandhya Vandanam, they don't do Madhyanam. Shraddha and all that, they don't do it as per the Vedic ordainment. They just do, Hiranya Shraddham like that, calls and do, please 10 minutes, finish Shraddham. So most of the Vedika karmas to be properly done, most people have already given up. So if you go and talk to them that Ajivana Paryantam you have to do karma and all, it will not make any sense to them. Actually, initially I thought that why go into all these details? But then I will not be doing justice to Bhashyakara if I don't discuss this. So that is why you can listen to it more from an academic point of view, academic interest, because it is very relevant. The argument of Bhashyakara is very important in understanding the nuances of what this whole dispute is about. So, since Bhashyakara has dealt with this topic in his Bhashyam, I thought we should also study the same, at least for academic purposes. And that is the idea he brings in here while discussing the Anubandha Chatushtaya Vedanta. So, Bhashyakara is indirectly pointing out the contrast between this Anubandha Chatushtaya Vedanta and Anubandha Chatushtaya Veda Purva Bhaga. And as I said, there is a reason for that. He wants to show that the former is different from the latter. And because of this, both of them are independent Shastras, two different Shastras, because of different Anubandha Chatushtaya. And therefore, according to Bhashyakara, and which of course, after Bhashyakara's time, most people have accepted it. So, according to their view, the entire Veda is Shastra Dvayatmakaha, twofold. Of course, the entire Veda is Apaurishaya, given by Bhagavan. But it technically consists of two Shastras because each one has got independent Anubandha. This is the approach of Bhashyakara to look at the body of the Vedas. And one more important point, even though he is Advaitavadi, when it comes to Vedas, he sees Vedas as Shastra Dvayatmakaha, whereas one thinker who was there before Bhashyakara, or perhaps during his time, I don't exactly know. His name was Bhartru Prapancha, who considered the entire body of Vedas as one Shastra. But the word Shastra is a technical word. Any body of any body of knowledge which has got its own independent Anubandha Chatushtayam is considered as a Shastra. In fact, there is a definition of Shastra. Eka prayojana ratam aseshartava bhasakam sarvato mukatatparyam panditam shastram uchyate. Any body of knowledge which has got its own prayojana, and prayojanam includes other anubandha also, sambandha, vishaya, and this is adhikari, sambandha, vishaya. What is the fourth anubandha as topic? Vishaya, sambandha, vishaya, prayojanam, and adhikariya. Four. So here we are talking about adhikari, so other three also we can include. So the one which has got any body of knowledge, which has got its own prayojanam, that body of knowledge will be called one Shastram. And Bhartru Prapancha, who was actually the original proponent of Veda Vedavada, which is now the philosophy of ISKCON people. Later on, Prabhupada and all that, they followed this Veda Vedavada, the doctrine of difference as well as non-difference. That Bhartru Prapancha was saying that the whole Veda should be looked at as one Shastra. According to him, there is no division of Veda Purva Bhaga and Vedanta. So the Vedas have got only one Adhikari who wants Shreyas, who wants benefit, who wants moksha. So the entire body of Veda is available as one Shastra. That is his viewpoint. Of course, in today's context, we may think, what difference does it make? Let it be one Shastra, two Shastra, and all. How does it matter? This will be our response. Initially, it looks like a very innocent difference, isn't it? So what, like that. This is how in relationship also it happens. It starts with a small difference, then the gap increases. So the difference, which is starting point is, this Eka Shastravadi, Bhartru Prapancha, says that since the entire Veda is one Shastra, therefore the Vakyas which are talking about karma and the Vakyas which are talking about Jnanam, both should be accepted with equal validity. And the Vedas say that Nitya Naimittika karma should be done by everybody. And Vedas also say that Jnanam is required for moksha, and therefore we have to combine Jnanam and karma, and Jnana karma samuchaya is the message of the entire Veda. So according to him, mere Jnanam cannot give moksha. One has to be first initiated into Veda Purva Bhaga. The person has to go through the entire Veda Purva Bhaga, learn all the karmas, how to do the karmas, perform those karmas, then go to Jnana Kanda, then get the knowledge, and the combination of both will give him moksha after death. So therefore, according to Bhartru Prapancha, we have to do Jnana Karma Samuchaya. Samuchaya means we have to do it together. And this Bhartru Prapancha and this later on his disciples, who became the Visishta Advaitins, they say that Jnana Karma Samuchaya alone is the means for moksha. Whereas these Shastra Dvayavadis say, Veda itself says that Jnanam itself can give moksha. And if you analyze the nature of the bondage, moksha, etc., what Vedanta or Upanishad says seems reasonable. So Shastra Dvayavadi says, you don't need to necessarily go into the karma kanda and do all those kind of things. Because whatever karma kanda delivers, in terms of chitta shuddhi, can be delivered by other means also. But chitta shuddhi is important qualification for coming to Vedanta. So chitta shuddhi you can acquire, different methods, not necessarily through karma kanda. So there is no need for first going through karma kanda and then continuing to do the nitya naimitika karma continuously. So according to them, jnana matrena moksha prapti, karma rahita jnanam will give moksha. So this is where the difference starts, and this leads to further difference subsequently. So since, according to the Shastra Dvayavadis, jnanam itself gives moksha and karma is not required, therefore they accept sannyasa ashrama as a valid ashrama. And Vedas talk about sannyasa ashrama also. It is not saying that Veda doesn't say, no, the sannyasa ashrama is, one should not take sannyasa ashrama. It doesn't say that. The 4 varnashrama dharma, the 4 ashrama, sannyasa is also a very valid ashrama. And therefore, what Shastra Dvayavadi says that once a person has got chitta shuddhi, by following the karma, with the attitude of karma yoga, then the karmas have done its job. The karmas have paid off because this guy has got chitta shuddhi. And therefore, he does not need to continue to do the karmas any longer. So Shastra Dvayavadi says, I am not saying that karma is not required at all. What I am saying is, karma is required only till the stage of chitta shuddhi is gained. Once purification has come, then the karma can be dropped and then one can take sannyasa. Because sannyasa, formally taking sannyasa means one becomes niragni. He cannot perform any agni-based karmas. Maximum he can do is he can do some chanting and all that, especially Rudram, Chamakam and all, he can chant. But any, homam and yagya and all these karmas he cannot do. That is sannyasa dharma. So the Shastra Dvayavadi accepts sannyasa ashrama, which is also talked about by the Shastra. And therefore he says, you cannot now impute some other idea to the Shastra's intention of talking about sannyasa ashrama. It has to be taken in the literal sense. Sannyasa ashrama means giving up karma. Whereas the Eka Shastravadi, this Bhartru Prapancha and his disciples, they say sannyasa ashrama is not possible. Because for getting moksha, one needs karma also. And for doing karma, shikha and yajnopavitam are required. That is the, the symbol of a karmatha. One cannot shave his head completely. So, according to them, the reference to sannyasa in the Shastram should be understood only as some sort of a glorification. It should not be taken in the literal sense. So in their view, what Shastra wants to say is sannyasa means you can give up all unnecessary laukika karmas. They can be given up. But Vaidika karmas, you cannot give up. So sannyasa ashrama, according to them, is not for Vaidika followers. So they don't accept sannyasa ashrama. In fact, some Dvaitis, actually this Bhartru Prapancha and, Visishtadvaitins. Visishtadvaitam is what? Basically Dvaitam only, right? Two things. So some Dvaitis say you should not even look at sannyasis. You should not entertain them, give them bhiksha, etc. But we have to be very careful. Huh? We should not see, they have got a very valid base for their belief, understanding. We should be careful not to disturb their standpoint. We should not argue with them. As Krishna says in the Gita, na buddhi bedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam. He says. So even if those people, they wear saffron robes, they will still continue with certain karmas, certain Vedic karmas. It's okay. It's their belief, their nishtha. So that is one more difference. The Shastra Dvayavadi accept sannyasa ashrama, whereas Shastraikavadi does not accept sannyasa. They say that the person should remain in the Grihastha ashrama, maximum he can go to Vanaprastha ashrama. The second difference. See how one small difference starts growing into further differences. Then one more difference crops up. Since Jnanena eva moksha says Shastra Dvayavadi, by mere knowledge itself it is possible to get moksha. The implication is that bondage is born of ignorance. Because knowledge can remove the bondage only if bondage is caused by ignorance. Therefore, according to the Shastra Dvayavadi, bondage, or which is otherwise called samsara, is ajnana janya, born of ignorance. And this samsara includes duality. And therefore, this duality also is born of ignorance. And samsara is mithya. And dvaitam jagat is also mithya, because it is removed by knowledge. See, this is why I said, starts with a small difference and where it is leading to. As we proceed in the analysis, difference becomes bigger and bigger. So the next difference is, Shastra Dvayavadi is telling that samsara is mithya. Dvaitam jagat is also mithya, because it is born of ignorance. Ignorance of the real nature of the jagat. Why it is born of ignorance? Because it is removed by knowledge. Jnana matrena moksha. So by mere knowledge itself, there is freedom from bondage. And since bondage is born of ignorance, therefore it must be mithya. Bondage includes dvaitam, and therefore dvaitam is mithya. Whereas the Shastraikavadi will say that by mere knowledge, this samsara is not removed. Therefore, samsara is not born of ignorance. It can be removed along with karma only. And therefore, samsara is not mithya. And therefore, dvaitam is not mithya. Samsara is satyam only. Dvaitam is also satyam as it is experienced. And therefore, Bhartru Prapancha is called Jagat Satyatvavadi. And when the Vedantins point out the Rajju Sarpa example, I hope all of you are familiar with that example. They say, no, Rajju Sarpa is not mithya. Because according to them, their fear is, if they accept the Rajju Sarpa example is the most powerful example Vedantins give, how the our superimposition of a snake on a rope because of ignorance creates fear and creates the samsara. So they say, if we accept that, that means you will somehow extend that logic to the entire Jagat and you will establish that this Jagat is also Mithya. So we will not accept this Rajju Sarpa as Mithya. That is their argument. But they say, okay, it's a different type of Satya. Sometimes it appears, the snake appears, the Sarpa appears, sometimes it goes away. And all this because Maya is there, they accept Maya. So Maya Shakti, with Maya Shakti, anything can happen. Because of Maya Shakti, Sarpa can appear for some time. That's its job of frightening you, exhausting your papa, and then go away. So Rajju Sarpa is also not Mithya. Shuktika's Rajat is not Mithya. All are Satyam only. So they don't accept the Mithya word itself. They are all Jagat Satyatva Vadinaha. And one more consequence of the difference is since Shastra Dvayavadi, Bhagavan Bhashyakara and this Sampradaya is accepting Jagat to be Mithya, they established then that Brahman is Advayam. That is the basis of Advaita philosophy. So Brahman is Advayam. Since Mithya cannot be counted along with Satyam, they don't have the same degree of reality. There is no Dvitiyam. And which is again, all these are supported by Upanishad Vakyas only. I mean, for example, we cannot say that one person and 10 reflections of his, they are all real. So if we are invited for lunch, we won't say, 11 people will come, I will come and my 10 reflections also will come for lunch. So according to Advaitins, Mithya and Satyam cannot be counted together because in this example, the person is Satyam, but all the reflections are Mithya. They are only appearances. There is no reality to them. And therefore they say Brahman is Advayam, whereas Shastraikavadi says, since Jagat is Satyam and Brahman is also Satyam, and therefore there is no Advaitam, there is only Dvaitam. Of course, they are nice people, the Shastraikavadi. They say we will give one concession. They say if you people are not happy with the word Dvaitam, we will call it Visishta Advaitam. Jagat is a Visesha, an ornament like to this Brahman. So Visishta Advaitam is they have got one Brahman as the reality and Jagat as its qualification. Like Brahman is gold and Jagat is Visesha, ornament of Brahman. So they say Brahman is Satyam and Jagat, which is also Satyam, is part of Brahman. This is the concession. They climb down. In essence, what they are saying is there are two things. One is Brahman, another is non-Brahman. Both are real. That's what they are saying. So in essence, they are Dvaitis only, but they call themselves Visishta Advaita. And of course, since now they have climbed down a little, Vedantins also say, okay, we understand. Let us not have any dispute on that. We appreciate your partial acceptance of Advaita. And we repay this kindness by saying that we will also accept the two types of realities. Rather, we will go ahead and accept three types of realities. Pratibhasika Satyam, Vyavaharika Satyam, and Paramarthika Satyam. But when we talk of Advaitam, we will talk only in terms of Paramarthika Satyam. Thus, both groups live in peace, accommodating each other's stand. I will stop here because this is not a discussion about Dvaitam, Visishta Advaitam. So I will not go into more details. Okay. So just, for you to understand the whole, from a Shastric point of view, where it starts and where it has ended. So thus, between Shastra Dvayavadi and Shastraikavadi, there are so many differences. And these are highlighted by Bhashyakara in many of his Bhashyams. And in this Upanishad also, he makes it clear by clearly distinguishing between Anubandha Chatushtaya, between Jnana Kanda and Karma Kanda. And the confusion takes place because of not correctly understanding the role and purpose of Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. Because Shastra Dvayavadi, he does not deny the role of Karma Kanda. In fact, his view is that Karma Kanda Anushtanam is compulsory and is to be practiced as Karma Yoga to gain Chitta Shuddhi. Then only Jnana Kanda teaching will make sense. And therefore, the purpose of Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda are different. Though Karma Kanda, through Karma Kanda, one acquired Chitta Shuddhi, and that means necessary qualifications for Jnana Kanda. So it's like that example I gave earlier for this NEET exams, NEET, medical college admission. One has to appear for this NEET exam for qualifying for admission to a medical college. Once you have taken the exam and qualified, the purpose of studying for NEET is served. One cannot then say that since NEET study and medical study is one and the same pursuit, one should continue to practice for NEET exam even after getting admission to the medical college. So the qualification for NEET or Adhikaritvam for NEET examination and the Adhikaritvam for medical admission are different. And therefore, Bhashyakara makes it very clear in the introduction itself that Anubandha Chatushtaya of Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda are different, which will lead to so many differences. So one small difference of Anubandha Chatushtaya will lead to big differences in the very approach towards the Shastra. The very interpretation of Shastra will be different. But what happens? Human nature, once you have already concluded something, you have a preconceived notion, then every sentence is, everything is seen in the light of what we have concluded. And therefore, Bhashyakara makes it a point here in Mundaka Upanishad to point out the difference between the Anubandha Chatushtaya of Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. So this much as the background on why Bhashyakara is dealing with this. Now let us come back to this last sentence. Jnana matre yadyapi, which we were seeing earlier. Okay. So jnana matre yadyapi sarvashraminam adhikarah tatapi sannyasa nishta eva brahma vidya moksha sadhanam na karma sahita iti. And this is establishing by these two mantras, by Chacharyam Charantah and Sannyasa Yoga. Iti cha Bruvan Darshayati. So as we know, Adhikari means the person qualifying, who is the candidate for getting the full benefit of Mundaka Upanishad, or for that matter, any Upanishad. Those who have studied Tattva Bodha, Adhikari definition. It says, Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna Adhikarinam Moksha Sadhana Bhutam Tattva Viveka Prakaram Bhakshyamaha. Beginning itself it comes. So who is the Adhikari for Vedanta? Generally we say Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna is the Adhikari. The one who is endowed with the fourfold qualification called Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti. Now here, Bhashyakara presents the idea of Adhikari in a slightly different manner. Because he wants to establish certain technical points through this introduction. See, I don't know how many of you have seen some argument going on in a high court or Supreme Court between two lawyers. Now, I have personal experience because I have been closely associated with a lot of cases, right at the Supreme Court level. I mean, it's really the approach, you don't leave anything to chance, anything to different interpretation, pin down everything, right? Similarly, Bhashyakara's approach is that He will not leave anything to chance. But whatever point he wants to make, he will bring in that point very beautifully. And so what happens is our critical thinking improves. When we read Bhashyam, our critical thinking improves. We don't just accept anything for granted. We question everything. Is this possibility also there? Is that possibility there? And here, he wants to establish one technical point, as I said. He does not deny sadhana chatushtaya sampanna is the adhikari. That he accepts it. But he wants to highlight one particular point, and that is sannyasa. And he says that in the case of Brahma Vidya, a sannyasi is a main adhikari. So when he says sannyasi, as I said already, means the person who has renounced Vaidika karma. See from where Bhashyakara comes in. You must just now understand all this discussion about this Shastra Ekavadi and Shastra Dvayavadi and all, Jnana Karma Samuchaya and all, from where Bhashyakara is bringing in the intellectual attack. So, sannyasi, he says, is the adhikari. That means what? He has already given up Vaidika karmas. The vidya which is endowed with or accompanied with renunciation of karma is the means for moksha, he says. So, Vaidika karma tyaga sahita vidya moksha sadhanam. And when he says sannyasa nishta, what he wants to say that karma tyaga sahita vidya moksha sadhana. So sannyasa is equal to the renunciation of especially Vaidika karma. And that is why he says jnana matrena moksha. And all this he wants to highlight to dismiss the view of Bhartru Prapancha and his followers. Of course, this does not mean that he does not accept any householder or a brahmachari cannot get jnana. He accepts that. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita Bhashyam, Bhashyakara talks about Janaka and people like him, King Janaka, where he accepts that a grihastha can get jnana. That's a beautiful story there in about King Janaka, which I will not go into because again it will keep on dragging. But he, according to him, a grihastha who is fully involved as a grihastha means he has to do all karma, as per the Vedas. King Janaka was a king, so he has to do all both laukika and alaukika, that is Vaidika karmas. But according to Bhashyakara, that is a secondary adhikari. The main adhikari is a sannyasi who has given up karma and thereby also given up all the sadhanas and all the accessories required for karma. So according to Bhashyakara, one can get enlightenment by first becoming light. He has to shed all his burdens. Because performing karmas is a big burden. But there, as I told you, in Bhagavad Gita Bhashyam, he talks about this in very great detail. Why karma is a burden. Karma is highly dependent on so many things. And here for moksha, you have to become totally independent. So how can you combine both? He argues there. So the person who has given up this sadhana, sadhya, rupa, karma and karma phala is the adhikari for Atma Jnanam. And Bhashyakara wants to highlight this qualification. And another reason for his saying sannyasa nishta eva is sannyasi, as I said, does not have any ashrama karma or even any laukika karma. And therefore, he or she will be able to exclusively commit to the pursuit of knowledge. Because this knowledge, this Atma Jnanam or Brahma Jnanam, requires exclusive pursuit to attain moksha. And therefore, He says sannyasa nishta eva brahma vidya moksha sadhanam. So when the pursuit of jnanam, when it is resting on or accompanied by sannyasa nishta, it becomes moksha sadhanam because it requires exclusiveness. So for these two reasons, this particular statement is made. One is Bhashyakara wants to establish that jnanam doesn't require the support of karma to give moksha. Another reason is to indicate that this pursuit requires exclusiveness, then only it can be attained. And therefore, sannyasa nishta eva brahma vidya moksha sadhanam na karma sahita brahma vidya moksha sadhanam. And that is what he says. Jnana matre yadyapi sarvashraminam adhikaraha. Yadyapi, even though. Jnana matre, in knowledge as such, knowledge alone, or knowledge as such you can take. Sarvashraminam adhikaraha. Adhikara means right. Adhikara, we can say from adhikari point of view, the qualification. All are qualified. Sarvashraminam, the people of all stages of life. So the people of all stages of life, like brahmacharya, grihastha, etc., have a right to know to knowledge as such. And this is a fact because people of all four ashramas have a right to study Vedas. And Vedanta comes as a part of Vedas. So all can study Upanishads also. And generally the study of Vedas should be followed by understanding of its meaning. At least general meaning one should understand. Artha Grahanam should be done. And since each Veda will have Upanishad also, when a person is doing Veda Dhyayanam, he will have exposure to Vedanta also. For example, a student of Krishna Yajurveda will study Taittiriya Upanishad and also broadly know the meanings of the Vakyas. They will be taught what is the meaning of Brahma with Apnodi Param. One who attains Brahman attains the highest. What is Brahman? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. One which is Satyam, unnegatable. Jnanam, consciousness. Anantam, limitless. That is Brahman. And the Upanishad says, Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. The one who knows this Brahman, which is hidden in the cave of the heart, Soshtute Sarvan Kaman Saha. He will attain all the desired objects. And therefore, a person who is a student of Krishna Yajurveda would have studied Taittiriya Upanishad, and this much about the meaning of the Taittiriya Upanishad he will know. He will have exposure to the meaning also. So Bhashyakara says, Jnana matre sarvasraminam adhikara. Everybody have the right to get this jnanam. But tatapi, still, sannyasa nishta eva brahma vidya moksha sadhanam. Brahma vidya, the knowledge of Brahma, which is sannyasa nishta, which is resting on sannyasa, then alone it becomes moksha sadhanam, the means for moksha. So he says, even though everyone has a right to knowledge, right to Brahma Vidya, still the knowledge which is resting on or accompanied by sannyasa nishta is the means for moksha sadhana. And sannyasa means what? According to Bhashyakara, sannyasa means karma tyaga. Tyaga or renunciation of karma and renunciation of asta and karma. Asta means reliability. The sense of reliability on karma for giving permanent happiness, he says, that should go. And it is not easy for most of the people because somehow this karma nishta is so strong. The people believe that this moksha sadhanam business, jnana kanda, whether I get or I don't get. At least today I am doing my karmas, I am earning punyam. So I should not give up my karma nishta. I cannot risk it. I have to continue doing it. At least for backup, I should keep it. So if by jnanam, if perhaps we don't get moksha, at least karma should come to our rescue. And the truth is that if a person does not have conviction that jnanam alone will give moksha, if he does not approach jnanam, Brahma Vidya, without any doubt that jnanam will give moksha, for such a person, jnanam will not give moksha. It will, the knowledge will not bless such a person. Or we will see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Harihi Om. Dhanyavada everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ
Hari
ಗುರುಜಿ.
Om Guruji, thank you.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji.
Hari Om Guruji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Here in this, what's talking of Aparavidya and Paravidya. Hello?
Yeah. Tell me.
Okay. Similarly, in the Viveka Chudamani also, you spoke about Mithya in those 7 verses and then you came to... So almost all of the Upanishads, do they follow the same system of negating the obvious and then looking at Brahman?
That is the message of all Upanishads. It's true.
Okay.
Whenever we talk of Vidya in the context of moksha, it is only Paravidya, Brahma Vidya. The knowledge of Brahman. Not only knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of I am Brahman. So Tattvamasi and Aham Brahmasmi should go together.
So whatever is obvious is Mithya and what is not obvious is Brahman.
No. Whatever is obvious is Aparavidya. Whatever you are able to experience, whatever you are seeing, are all Aparavidya.
Yes.
But whatever is the real knowledge which will give you moksha is Paravidya, which is
Yes.
the knowledge of Brahman.
Yeah, that Paravidya is not visible to the
It is
naked
not
eyes.
visible. No,
It is
visible in the sense
Anta-
that Paravidya
Antakarana.
knowledge you get through Upanishads,
Yeah, that is only to the Antakarana.
Ah, yes, that is only to you. For all those people. But even all Vidyas there in the Antakaranam only, no?
Yeah.
Where does all Vidya sit? All Vidya sit in our intellect only.
Yes.
So there is no difference in that part of it. The difference is all other Vidyas talk about objects. Apara Vidya is all about objective world, objective universe, objective body, mind, sense complex. Para Vidya talks about subject, I. That's all. Only one subject matter, I. I mean the real I. I means doesn't mean body, mind, sense complex. I is my real Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. That I is Paravidya. Knowledge of that I is Paravidya. Everything else other than that is Aparavidya. That is how it understands.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Yes, Premaji.
Guruji, today was a marathon because so much was said. A lot of it, if you're not a very complicated thinker and a person who investigates very deeply into everything, the minutest details, today's class was a disaster. So I have to go through it at least 3-4 times and read. And yeah.
That is the difference between studying through Bhashyam And that is the biggest, advantage or benefit that people like me have got. We went to the Gurukula and then we have studied from the, Puja Swamiji and his Sishyas with the Bhashyam. So the insight is totally different into these things. So that is what I am sharing with all of you. When I chose to take a Bhashyam, I thought there is so much to know that, at least my students who are there, who have been attending classes, I should share it with them. As long as they don't get bored and walk away.
No. But actually, the intellectual part is getting satisfied very much and building up.
Yeah.
Actually. And so to come back to the brass roots of what the message is in the Bhashyam, it needs a lot of cross-indexing with the Gita also.
Absolutely. That is why when you study all, then things become more and more. Your own mind becomes clear. When you read Gita with Bhashyam, then you will say, oh yeah, in Mundakopanishad, Bhashyakara has said this. Because Bhashyakara has to be very careful. He cannot say one thing in one Bhashyam and another thing in another Bhashyam. Right? People will immediately catch. What you are saying there, that thing, here you are saying different thing. So for our part also as a student, there is a lot of intellectual exercise involved in that. Deep thinking is required, and understanding and remembering, recalling, all that is required. It's a fantastic exercise for the brain, for our intellect, for our buddhi.
Yeah, and also the questions that come up seem justified as you're looking at them.
Yeah.
And then the deeper investigation reveals something
Yeah.
different, another possibility, another option.
Correct. You will see that as we go through the mantras and all and bhashyams, Bhashyakara will not leave anything to your own this thing. He will cover all the possibilities. If one word can be interpreted in two different ways, he will give both the interpretations and then say that either you should take only this interpretation or both interpretation will fit into the context. Like that, he said, and I tell you what, biggest advantage is if you have got some Sanskrit background, you follow the Bhashyam, your Sanskrit also improves a lot. Vocabulary improves a lot. Sanskrit. Grammar, actually speaking, I will talk about it. This Bhashyam, every word which is there, the Acharya is supposed to explain the grammar. Right? He is supposed to explain, what is bhakti, what is and also which is the dhatu, and which is the prayoga, karmani prayoga, kartari prayoga, all that. But then if I start doing all that, I think I will be only talking to myself. Because that requires either a prior knowledge of, a good knowledge of Sanskrit language, or at least you must be studying Sanskrit along with that. And not the kind of Sanskrit they teach you in school. It should be at the level of Ashtadhyayi and all that kind of Sanskrit. So that the various, Bhashyakara uses that also. He will say that interpretation is valid from this, point of view, set in Ashtadhyayi. This is the basis. He will quote everything rather. So for us to appreciate, we must have that. But then most of the people here in the class, so I have actually skipped all that. All karmani prayoga, kartari prayoga, and all that bhava prayoga, all that I have skipped. I am just focusing only on the words' meanings. Somewhere by, when I feel very strong, I have to talk about this Sanskrit thing. I will talk about only there, and it will not be too much of Sanskrit. I'm trying to avoid the grammar part of it totally. Otherwise, Bhashyam should be studied with this grammar only. So Bhashyam study is an overall kind of a thing, it's not just only knowing what is there in the mantra. So many things are involved in Bhashyam study. Yeah.
Thank you, Guruji. You're a gift.
Thank you. Yes, Lataji.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
It's Premaji has used the right word. A marathon. It was a marathon session, intellectual marathon, packed with so many. Probably some of it though appears as a repetition, as I heard this before, Guruji telling this before. But then yes, to make a string out of the different flowers. And we need to listen to it again and again.
Yeah.
Guruji, a simple question. I think you mentioned it during this session, but I must have not paid attention about the requirement of sannyasa to attain the required, the desired result that Bhashyakara is saying. So sannyasa here, you also mentioned that it is pertaining to Vedic karmas.
Yeah, giving up of Vedic karmas.
Giving up of Vedic karmas. So for a common householder like me, what would that mean, Guruji?
That would mean that, for example, if now I am actually performing all Vedic karmas, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Sandhya Vandanam 3 times I perform.
Yes, Guruji.
The amount of time that goes in that is about 2-3 hours every day.
Mm-hmm.
Chanting Gayatri and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have not now taken sannyasa formally.
Yes.
For that, I have to take my wife's permission. She is not giving me permission. In fact, I asked her, she said, no, I'll not give you permission. So I am stuck in Grihasthas.
Okay, Guruji.
But that's aside. The point is, but even though I am not giving up the karma, my attitude towards that karma is what? My attitude towards that karma is I am performing all this for more and more chitta shuddhi only.
Yes, yeah, that was my question. That was going to be my...
Sandhya Vandanam I do for the purpose of gaining some punya or anything like that, right?
Yes.
I am doing only for chitta shuddhi, gain more and more chitta shuddhi, because gaining chitta shuddhi has got no limit.
Yes,
Correct.
Guruji. I mean, that was going to be my question. That was going to be my question, Guruji. That does the Bhashyakara mean that actually physically giving up those karmas, or it's just the sannyasa is at the attitude level, mental attitude level. If you cannot actually give up the karmas, you keep doing them, but have a mental attitude of sannyasa, and then you are still okay with thing, because because the Jnana Marga is mainly again a mental attitude. There you're not physically performing anything. It's only the Vedika karmas, Nitya karmas is what we do physically. So is it the sannyasa when Bhashyakara means, is it only sannyasa by mental attitude, or actually giving up of? I mean, actually the sannyasis who have taken the Diksha, they will actually give it up.
Yes, they have to, because Bhashyakara is where he is coming from, is that you have to actually give up the karmas. He does not say you have to necessarily give up the karmas. What he is saying is, giving up the karmas, giving up performance of the karmas is an ideal for Jnana Marga, for Brahma Vidya. That's the ideal situation, right?
Right.
Because what happens is, if you are going to focus on karma, if you are going to perform the karmas, it is not a very simple thing. Because many karmas require a lot of material.
Yes.
You have to earn money for that material, buying that material or getting that material.
Yes, Guruji.
So many dependencies are there when you are performing karma, and if you want to do it the Vedic way, as per what is said in the Vedas. So Bhashyakara says that you are actually do those. I'm not saying don't do it, but once you have attained Chitta Shuddhi, give them up completely. Because the purpose of that was only to give you Chitta Shuddhi, nothing else. And then exclusively pursue Jnana Marga, because Jnana Marga also requires a lot of time, lot of concentration, you have to focus on that. You cannot be, when studying Upanishads, you cannot be thinking, oh my God, tomorrow I have to do this Homa, and I have not purchased, got the summit for that. So I will have to, olden day, they used to go and collect the summit from the forest. So I will have to go to the forest and collect the summit. If you are thinking all that when you are studying the Upanishad, what will go inside your brain? That is Bhashyakara's point.
Okay, Guruji.
So he says that two reasons. One is, if karma is paid up, it's foolish to continue doing that, right? If you have already got admission to medical college, why would you continue with the books of that eligibility examination, right? You won't study. You don't need to do them. And second reason is focus on that exclusively so that you are able to, because that's not an easy thing. Even Jnana Marga is not an easy thing. As we are finding how many things, how many years we have been studying in different forms, still that thing is elusive, isn't it? Brahman is elusive. So he says focus on that, and that will give you moksha. Otherwise, you study Jnana, Karma Kanda, you do Jnana Kanda, you do. Maybe you become a good professor in some Oxford University or something. You can teach, but then you will not get moksha. That is the point he makes. So,
Okay, good.
his point of view, we must understand, he doesn't say don't give up karma, but sannyasa is the most ideal for this.
Ideal.
That's what he says.
Preferred and ideal. Okay, Guruji.
Yeah. Good and nice.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Guruji. Hari Om.
Yes, Sulekha ji.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
Thank you for today's class. It was a wonderful class. And as others have also said, it's a lot to think about. My question, I have two questions. My first question is regarding Advaita Vedanta. Is it a process and steps that one must go through in terms of refining one's intellect, understanding the Bhashya, gaining Chitta Shuddhi, and working towards that understanding of oneness? Do we have to go through the steps to get to Advaita Vedanta? Do we have to go through the other steps of Vedanta that you had mentioned? For example, the duality, Dvaitam. Do we need to enter through Dvaitam first in order to get to Advaitam? Or is it a process that...
There's no need to enter to Dvaitam. You are already in Dvaitam. In order to enter into Advaitam only, first of all, you have to get the Chitta Shuddhi, do karmas with that karma yoga attitude and things like that and all, and then do Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, then get moksha. So that is the process. But Dvaitam and all, you don't need to enter into because we are all already in Dvaitam. We don't have any attitude of Advaitam at all, isn't it? We still go to the temple and consider God to be different from us. And we pray to the God, oh God, give me this, give me that. Make me healthy. Let my children be happy. All that we say, no? That is only we consider God as something different from us. Something more powerful than us. So, Dvaitam is nothing, is given. Born with Dvaitam only. Our journey is to move towards Advaitam. That is the challenge.
Thank you, Guruji. That's very well clarified. My second question is regarding sannyasa as not necessarily. Is it necessarily a stage, or is it when knowledge has entered? Once you have entered the jnana marga, that in itself is becoming or coming into the process of sannyasa, so that it's not necessarily a stage where you're giving up anything, leaving one's grihastha life or lifestyle, that it is not a stage necessarily, but a process of understanding. Is this correct?
No, actually speaking, when you are talking about Chitta Shuddhi to come into Jnana Marga, today's situation is we are all doing everything together because we want to learn about Upanishads. So whether we have got the qualification for learning the Upanishad or not, we still keep learning. Okay. But if you have got the sadhana chatushtaya sampatti in full measure, what is sadhana chatushtaya sampatti? Viveka vairagya. So if you have got viveka and vairagya towards what? Towards all the materialistic world. So if you have got that itself, that is itself is half sannyasa. Then what is left is that exclusiveness of this pursuit. Are you pursuing this pursuit exclusively, or are you combining it with so many hundred other things? and which according to Bhashyakara is you cannot do that, because this is something you have to exclusively do, and then only you will get moksha. Other than, if you don't do that, then forget about moksha. You can keep on doing it janam after birth after birth after birth, right? You will not reach that. So what we have to understand is sannyasa basically stems from an attitude, and then physically you become a sannyasa by giving up all the other unnecessary activities or actions, so that you can exclusively devote your time for this. So it starts with an attitude, ends up in being physically taking sannyasa, right? But if you because you can take physically sannyasa, but if your attitude is not sannyasa attitude, then this will not help at all. Any amount of Upanishad, Brahma Sutra you study, if you don't have that attitude, then it will all be a total waste. So attitude, sannyasa attitude is the most important aspect of it. Even when you take physical sannyasa, one must take physical sannyasa only after he has got a well-developed attitude, sannyasa attitude, which comprises of all this viveka, vairagya, sadhana, what is that, viveka, vairagya, titiksha, and all that, things. So one has to do that. And mumukshutvam important, because mumukshutvam is, one must have desire for moksha. If you don't have desire for moksha, then what is your goal in studying all these things? What is the purpose? Right? Just by knowing all these things, you are not going to get moksha. So you have to work towards it, give a lot of time for it, then moksha. Purpose, goal-oriented, approach. So that is what is to understand sannyasa is about.
Thank you, Guruji. Hari Om. Very nicely explained. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? So I will close the session. Continue on Monday.
Yes,
Thank you,
Guruji.
Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Hari
Thank
Om.
you, Guruji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.